This is going to be the final video of this trip. I woke up in North Carolina and headed for Greensboro. I stayed at a Walmart. Actually, I don't even know where it was at. So tired at this point, but I have one last spark of adventure in me. This map shows the route of the Blue Ridge Parkway, and today I'm going to travel that. This map shows the route that I take today. I start somewhere around Greensboro and I head up into the mountains to a place called Fancy Gap, which is just north of Mount Airy, North Carolina. I traveled down the Blue Ridge Parkway to Blowing Rock, drop back down into the valley and catch 40 to Asheville. Then I head back up into the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee to go camp for the night. The drive up the mountain is called Andy Griffith Parkway. It goes through Mount Airy, which is the mythical Mayberry of his television show. Catch the highway, and it's sacked in. It's just rain and fog. This is the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's still very beautiful and incredibly peaceful. I can't believe how relaxing and soothing this drive is. Normally I'd be in a hurry to get someplace because I got a long way ahead of me. But today it's just Blue Ridge Parkway all day. Such a beautiful drive. I bet this is amazing when it's clear. You have these lookouts. All I can see is cloud, fog today, but I'll bet it's pretty amazing when it's clear out. Coming along with me on my drive. Looks like I'm headed back into the fog. I made a few stops along the way to see what I could. That was about the clearest view I've got right there on this panorama. But at Blowing Rock, I head down the mountain and I go to Billy Graham's training center at the Cove. I decide I want to camp in the mountains that night, so I drive up the mountain again into the Great Smokies to find a campsite. And as it turns out, the campground is closed, so I park on a picnic loop and just camp for the night. It was pitch black, dark. I could see nothing. But the payoff is the next morning because it rained hard that night, but it was very clear the next day, and it was beautiful everywhere I went. My plan for today is to make it to Nashville and visit Dan and Terry Barnett. But it's hard to get going because all of a sudden there are spectacular views everywhere, wildlife, everything. So it kind of takes me a little bit of time to get down the mountain. The Great Smoky Mountains. After soaking in that beauty for a little while, down the mountain I go. Whoa! After that close call, Tennessee. I arrive in Nashville to my friend's vacation place, and we meet together for a little while. And then it's back on the road again for me. I make it as far as Clarksville that night, going through Nashville here. At this point, I'm so tired, I just want to go home. But the next morning, I decide to take a southerly route rather than going back the way I came. I'm rewarded with a beautiful sunrise right as I go over the Tennessee River. I'm glad I went this way. Next up is crossing the Mississippi from Memphis to Arkansas. Not much happened in Arkansas, but by the time I got to Oklahoma, I was definitely wanting to be inside. The Lord deserves the credit here because I did not feel like being in my camper tonight. I wanted to get a hotel and I was going to just pay for it. And it's a good thing I did because this is what I miss camping. After the storm passed, the next morning I headed for Albuquerque. I figured I could get up into the mountains by then.
In half
This
a
is
mile,
Oklahoma
keep
City.
right to stay on I-40 West. Follow signs for Amarillo.
I stopped for the night on a forest road in Cuba, New Mexico. This is the inside of my truck. And the next morning, it looked like rain. This is Forest Road 88 in New Mexico, northwest of Albuquerque. Yeah, it was a good spot to camp. I couldn't see anything coming in, so I didn't know where to go. These roads are not washboard. They're rutted, and a good rain would make this muck. So, trying to get out of here before the rain. I didn't go far off the road, just half mile, just enough to get out of the. Oh, that's a nice spot. Picked a little somewhat level spot to camp in. A little tilted downhill a bit, but that's okay. I can sleep that way just fine. Considering I'm not sleeping very well in the back of the truck, I slept okay. So I only woke up about 8 times. There we go. The highway. Pretty much from right here, I abandoned all pretense of trying to travel and see things. I just definitely wanted to get home. So I plotted a course back the way I came. Went up through Utah, cut over in Idaho, went through eastern Oregon, and to my home. Snow. Took a short break here at Wilson's Arch, and then got back on the road again. I made it up to the Idaho border and parked at a rest stop for the night, got some sleep, and plotted this course for the next day, which was a long push home. I was rewarded once again with a beautiful sunrise along the highway. Finally, Oregon. And there you have it, folks. Arriving home, record my mileage, and let's do a quick recap. Home to Rollins to Devil's Tower, Mount Rushmore, Badlands, Mulberry Bend, and St. Louis. Leaving the Missouri River at St. Louis to Ulitic, then to Delaware, Ohio, up into the Appalachians, and then Bristol. Stayed in Bristol for about 11 days, went up to New York, and then traveled also to Baltimore. Leaving Bristol and went to Washington, D.C., Hampton, and then down to Kitty Hawk. From Kitty Hawk, I went west to North Carolina, Mount Airy, the Blue Ridge Parkway, Billy Graham, and the Great Smoky Mountains. From the Great Smoky Mountains to Nashville, to Arkansas, to Oklahoma, spent the night in a thunderstorm, on tornado watch. The last final leg was from Okemos, Oklahoma, to Albuquerque, Moab, Salt Lake City, Idaho, and then finally Oregon. Thank you for coming along with me on this fantastic trip, and I hope you have safe and happy trails.